Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Welcome back. Thank you for being here for this bonus episode. Is it a podcast episode? Is it just a YouTube exclusive? I don't know. It's all these things, but it's brought to you by DraftKings, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Without DraftKings, we wouldn't be able to do this. It's fun. So thank you very much to DraftKings. And I'm with Jim McCormick. Hi, Jim.
Hello. I was dropped by my coffee sponsor, so I just want to explain why this is going to be a completely different vibe. I just want to be clear.
It's just much calmer. A lot calmer on that end of the less wah-wah in you.
Less wah-wah, less Bitcoin, because that was how I was getting paid. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. The Marion school system really needs to get realize what year it is. So here we are. We're going to talk week 4. We're going to pick all the games against the spread. We are so happy to have you watching. And if you would subscribe to the channel, it really helps. If you would click the little bell to give notifications, that's great. Jim, I don't know. Dave knows this. I don't know if you know this, but I mentioned on the podcast, one little thing that people could do to help out the Harris Football Empire would be just go to the YouTube channel right at that moment while I was thinking of it and just subscribe. And that moved 125 people to subscribe in one day.
I mean, it's almost like you move lines. It's like I know that Dave doesn't want us to discuss the man who's not to be named, Nick Chubb, and that guy moved a line one. I think somebody in Vegas said it was the third biggest move so far of the year, meaning of a player. Right. I think before it was Barrow, had moved it, and then he came back. So it was 0.85 points. So do with that what you will. So
right, that had nothing to do with what I was saying, but thanks for sharing it.
None.
We are thankful to all our new subscribers. If you're new to this is me and Jim picking each game against the spread. In my case, mediocrely. In Jim's case, last week, holy moly, really well. 11-5. I went 8-7. I'm still climbing toward Mount 500, but you've traversed Mount 500. You're on the way further up.
I'm at the base camp. It's called the 500 base camp. So yeah,
I love it. Well, you're above the base camp. You're looking down at those of us who are nearing the base camp. As we do every week, by the end, we're going to ask you to pick your favorite game against the spread. And as we do every week, I'm going to start by congratulating somebody who did well in the comments last week. It was Robert Sabo, and like us, Robert picked the Colts, and that felt like a fairly easy cover as that game went along, only because that first drive didn't look so good. The Ravens went bananas, but after that, it was a lot of Indy and a lot of stupid Baltimore plays, and that was enough for the Colts to win outright in overtime, but we were always safe as long as it wasn't going to be a touchdown in overtime. So well done, Robert, and well done us for picking that game correctly. So we're going to dig right into it. Of course, we're recording this in advance of the games. The lines may move. You have to bear with us a little bit. They're current as of our recording this. We'll start with the Thursday night game with some personnel uncertainty that, again, by the time people watch this, maybe that uncertainty will wind up being resolved. But at the moment, we're not exactly sure who's playing for the Packers. They're hosting the Lions, and you're wearing a Honolulu blue shirt. So I know definitely where you're going.
Yeah, it's from some guy on eBay. So I just want to thank that. Or a woman. I don't know. Whoever that would be. But yeah. So I had this at Lions minus 2.5 points.
You did,
okay. But what I struggled with is that 3.5 LaFleur's fit into a Dan Campbell.
Oh,
so it's like a how many Earths fit in the sun kind of thing.
Right.
And also, can you imagine the gap in chewing tobacco and caffeine between those two people? So
well, given last week's show, I can imagine that. Yes.
See, again, so he has not lost his sponsor, obviously Dan Campbell. But seriously, I just think that it's a superior offense. I understand that last week was this epic comeback, but sitting around for that long with no points, I just could never imagine, even against a really good Saints defense. I just think this is a superior offense, and I tend to think that's going to put Jordan Love in some positions that he hasn't been in very often. Like that last week really wasn't that big of a deficit, right? So I just think if they had to keep up points with this team, it could get weird.
It was 16-0. It's kind of a big deficit in the fourth quarter.
I meant that it was still a 3-score deficit, like as opposed to it's huge. But I mean,
an 8-score deficit.
Yeah, like that's kind of like what I deal
That's
with.
what's coming.
I'm a fan, so.
Here's my question for you, though. Aren't you pretty pro Packer defense?
I am. I think they're quite talented in the back seven. I think the pass rush still has to wake up a little bit more. Like Rashawn Gary, these guys are really talented, but like they're kind of still on that like he's gonna happen thing.
Okay.
So I think their front seven, well, their front four is not gonna really get through this line very often. I just think Goff's gonna have time. Plus, Jared Goff's playing really well. He just is. So.
Well, if he has time, and you're right, they may give him time. I'm gonna take the Packers. I didn't even say the line; it's 1.5.
Right.
The Lions road favorite. That's really what gets me here is just Lions as a road favorite. I'm a little suspicious. I mean, I had it at 2, so I'm. I had it at 1. Sorry, I had Lions 1. So like, I'm not trying to tell you I feel super strongly about this, but that's where I am on it. Is just I'll come down on the other side, and I think you're right. The two best units on the team are probably Detroit offense, Green Bay defense. But do the Lions have anything like the Saints defense? Can't the Packers score some points here?
That's very possible. It's just okay. I don't know. AJ Dillon, his thoughts. Yes.
Well, that's the great point. Like we don't know whether Aaron Jones plays at this point, right? If Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are both out, if they're both in, this line could move by the time people are even seeing the video, let alone by the time the game kicks off. All right, we'll move on to Sunday, and we're getting I'm in California. This is a 6 a.m. game for me, and I have no way to watch it. Other than that, chef's kiss NFL. Just like NFL, just spreading the love, spreading the game. I cannot literally have no way of watching this unless I want to give ESPN extra money, and I'm not going to do that because I'm already giving YouTube extra money, and I'm giving NFL.com extra money, or any of those services that I'm paying for going to have Falcons Falcons versus Jags? No. Do you have the free ESPN Plus because you have the mouse ears?
I do, but also I've been researching what I'm like. I have paid Paramount Plus $42,000 this year, and I had no idea. Like, please check what you're subscribed to, okay? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I have a sponsor for that, Rocket Money, on the podcast. Yeah, I definitely use Rocket Money.
That's the site I use. I'm not kidding. Yeah. That's what I used. I really did because I had some weird stuff. Like, also, never let your kids, Dave can say this, sign up for apps because it was like draw for fun, $12.99. There was no fun in that drawing, okay? But here's the thing. Here's my concern about this London game is that I don't know if London has enough TGI Fridays and Applebee's to handle these fan bases, okay? And I'm not even insulting anybody. I want to do that too. I'd have, if I'm in the heart of London, I want some Jack Daniel's wings, okay?
Bloomin' onion.
The bloomin' onion, just shove it in my face, literally. You'll get a rash. But really, this game is the fourth leading cause of the American Revolution, and I have it. I think the Jags finally show up. I do at some point, and I had this -4. Atlanta has its style; they'll punch you in the face, but I don't know. This is a wake-up call, basically. This is like how last week's Chargers game was like you're fired. This isn't you're fired, but this is like you're in trouble in this AFC if you blow this. So that's my opinion.
I also had it at 4. I tried to kind of think about how it goes, and how it goes is the Falcons don't get shut down in the run game very often. And maybe, speaking of the last game, I'm underestimating the Lions defense for having done that. But it does seem like it's a really specific way to play against the Lions that the Falcons are able to play that I don't think you can pull off. The Jags game last week was, we talked about the Ravens game, and the Jags game was all about mistakes. Like Houston didn't even play that well. I couldn't believe watching that film back how many Calvin Ridley drops and weird Trevor Lawrence interception and the kickoff return by a fat guy for a touchdown. Right. It was just really, really strange.
Didn't Agnew fumble too, like a gadget player or something? Yeah, yep.
In the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, he did. It was so if you're going to keep doing that, you're going to lose all these games. And so I'm going to make a vote that somehow they don't. But the more buttoned-up team really probably is the Falcons. They know who they are. They stick to it. Desmond Ridder's terrible, but they kind of know it, so it is what it is. We're on the same side there. All right, we'll get back to the rest of the games in a second. I mentioned are sponsored by DraftKings. I want to thank DraftKings for being a sponsor of me since I left ESPN 9+ years ago. Jim, the only sponsor that's been with me that entire time is DraftKings, and I owe them a lot, quite literally owe them a lot. They took a chance. A lot of times when you start a podcast, they're like, okay, how many downloads did you get? And that's how we know how much to pay you for this. And I'm like, oh, I have 0. I haven't started it yet, and they were like, that's okay. We'll still sponsor you. They took a chance really early on. So I'm in their debt. If folks watch this and think it would be fun to play, if you're in one of the states where it's allowed, of course, we're asking you to gamble very responsibly, very small amounts. Jim, I bet $5 a game. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I bet $5 a game.
I move 2 Chris Harris units at a time. I do 10. But one thing that I found out real quick about DraftKings, that it's kind of a new feature, I think. But my one friend and I, we like to build lineups together. And there's actually this feature, and they love this because it creates some social aspect. But you can create a group now if you link to your buddy. And like, if they open their access, you can see their picks and your picks, and we can. So it's before we're screenshotting like 6-leg parlays, so we can give DraftKings more money. But so yeah.
Right. It's great. So, like, please don't give them too much money. We're not at DraftKings doesn't want you to give them too much money. They want to just be a fun place to play. If you do download the app, please sign up using the code Harris2. But that lets them know that sponsoring this goofy show works. If you're already a DraftKings person, then log in every game day because they have specials for everybody. Any new customer gets, if you make one $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets to just spread around in all the games. So you don't have to feel like you're, spending too much. So we do thank DraftKings very much. Without them, I would not have been able to get this far, and I appreciate it. So main slate, let's get to the early games. The Rams are visiting those aforementioned Colts. 2 teams that are not nearly as bad as everybody decided 3 weeks ago. Like, we can definitely, remember that? The Colts are not trying to win, and the Rams are, god-awful terrible, and especially Cooper Kupp's hurt, they're unbelievably bad. That's not the case. Neither one of these teams is unbelievably bad. They're from the great unwashed middle of the NFL, and the line reflects it, right? It's Colts at home. They're favored by 1.
Yes, these are like the wide receiver 3s of football teams.
Right.
But the way I had this -2 Colts just because I was able to watch, I was able to watch some of that Rams game, but I had some schoolwork to do. But I really spent most of my time. I did watch the entirety of the Ravens game, and I just felt like that Colts defense, particularly. I know Gus Bradley is this vanilla guy, but they were bringing heat. They were bringing pressure. They were throwing Darius Leonard. What does he go by now? I'm sorry, Shaquille Leonard, all over the place. And it just was effective. And I think that, a couple of years ago, we used to talk about, maybe 2 years ago, the 2021 season, we were talking about how talented this Colts team is in atypical positions, guard, middle linebacker. Well, those guys are back, kind of, it seems like. There's some chutzpah back in this roster. I just think it's better. And also, there is something to learn from that Bengals game, which is just chase Matt Stafford within 1 second. And it works.
Well, and also cover Puka Nacua with linebackers. Dared the Rams to run, and that's what the Bengals did. Right. They dared them to run. I'm also on the Colts here. I also said it at 2. I don't want to oversell,
right?
That how sure of a bet this feels. When I say it's 2 and the line's 1, I'm like, I guess I'm on the Colts side.
Same.
I don't feel like I don't want to make a case that the Rams can't cover, can't win, because I think they can, and that's why the line is close, and that's why, on a neutral field, I kind of consider these teams to be really similar. Who's to say the Rams don't have wreckers on defense? Of course they do. They have, still one of the greatest defensive linemen in history. And the corners are feisty and pretty good. They tortured T. Higgins in that game. They corners. You don't know their names. They're not famous anymore, but they're actually okay. But it is that little thing that goes, oh, is this a blueprint? The Cooper Kuppless offense, have we figured out, I don't think Kyron Williams is going to kill us, and let's just make sure there's no intermediate stuff to the receivers. So I wound up on the same side as you did. That'll be interesting to watch. Okay, well, we've talked about the Ravens a couple of times. They are going to go on the road. They are going to visit their division mates, the Cleveland Browns. We love Dave Piper. However, the weather in Cleveland appears to be cursed, and maybe this will be like a hail of toads or something landing on the field. The Browns are -3 in this game over the team they used to be.
I actually think it hails old Marlboro butts there.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah, or whatever those kids are into now in Cleveland. That's when I experienced Cleveland. It's actually, what are they? Not Virginia Slims. What are the other ones? Cools. They were cools everywhere. But really, we said before we were talking before the show, we were talking about the mist of Lake Erie, and I think you said it tastes like dirty nickels, and I suggested payphones. So,
thanks for stepping on my
line,
honestly,
buddy. That's how much. Well, I stepped on your line, but I also wanted to enjoy. I wanted to make people think that maybe I said both of those things. Okay. I had this as a Bengals game. It was only -2 that I had it at the Browns. So all these lines are very tight for me. I had this at -2 Browns. So I'm going to take these points. I get it. This Ravens team is like constantly self-inflicts itself. Well, wait, self-inflicts itself. That's really rough. But my point is this: in the battle of Art Modell's Garfield collection, I am going with the Baltimore Ravens because one, I think the better dual threat quarterback is not on the Browns. So.
All right. I mean, what I really want to hear, I want to hear you saying the guy who plays quarterback for the Bengals, if he played it for the Ravens, but the city name. I want to hear you say that sentence.
Wait, what? Joe Burrow? Wait, what? Say it again. Yeah, Joe Burrow.
I mean, I don't need.
That was so many words. I don't think
you need the. Yeah. Where does like? Let's say he played for the Ravens. What city would he play in?
He would play in Baltimore.
I like the way you say the word Burrow and the word Baltimore. So yeah.
Oh, Baltimore. Yeah. Okay, more. Yeah. Go Jags.
So I'm on the other side here, but not because I feel super strongly about it. I said it at 4 for the Browns. You said it at 2 for the Browns. So, we look like we're differing so wildly on the game. But this comes down to, I think the Browns are the best defense in football. I've sort of seen enough through 3 weeks.
They're pretty nuts. God. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, they are really, really, really scary. Why is Piper laughing in our ears about this maniacally? Does he know something that we don't know? Big Browns fan?
I think he just it's compliments don't come so often to Browns fans. So when you hear them, it's an internal giggle. It's like Teddy Ruxpin.
It's nervous laughter. Like, don't say that about my team. All right, let's move on. We'll do Vikings. The Vikings were the source of my best bet last week, and Jim, I'm just going to consider that I won that bet because mean, what the damn hell? What in the damn hell? Can we just unpack? Okay, the Vikings are at the Panthers. We'll get to that in a second. The Vikings are 3.5 point favorites on the road. That in and of itself says something. But can we just go back and live like it would be? People could yell at me for picking the Vikings for as my best bet to say like, don't you know they're so stupid? But like, at the end of the game they were stupid. They weren't even the stupidest team in the game. Like the Chargers going for that 4th down. That's not analytics, right?
No. That's literally just like my friend texted me, dared me, and was like, "Do it, do it." Brandon Staley is like, "I have to do this." He texted me.
There was a railroad crash in Ohio, but I'm gonna say something wise about it. If that's a reference to a previous show, but whatever. So the Vikings, insane not to call a timeout there, but I still think it's a good play call. It's fine. It just was. Frankly, TJ Hawkinson maybe a little soft on that play, but also good to play by the defender. I just can't believe they lost the game. I can't believe it. It was my best bet. I can't believe it.
I can.
You can.
Well, my thing is this. I wrote in the 3rd quarter because the game was really heating up, and I was like, the coolest part about this game is that someone's going to Charger it and someone's going to Viking it. And they both did it.
I mean, the best part about last week's show was not me picking the Vikings. It was Dave Piper putting a thumbnail of the Spider-Man pointing meme with the Vikings and the Chargers because they're the same damn team. And they are 3.5 point road favorite at 0-3. And, all summer, dude, you and me were like, Vikings undervalued. The whole market was like, no, they're not. In fact, they won a bunch of close games they shouldn't have lost. In this case, the market was a lot smarter than we were. The Panthers, as of our recording this, it seems like it's trending toward Bryce Young coming back. And I ask you, is that a good thing for the Panthers' hope to win a game? They're 3.5 point home dogs.
I don't think it is. I have yet to see something so impressive from Young yet, just other than his little baby bird body. But I don't know. It's more than a red flag that all of the concerns about this person's sustainability are surfacing immediately. That's a problem. But the bigger problem is, even regardless of the health thing, is just that the Dalton floor, Chris Wessling used to have the great concept of the Dalton line, right? The Mendoza line of football. And I looked at that line in fantasy terms as, can you support an offense? Can you support multiple players on an offense that I can invest in? And at this point, I don't think that's happening in Carolina. And I just think this team can score. I had this at -5 actually. So I just think this Vikings team, I don't know how I keep getting into this laundry basket and hiding with purple jerseys that stink. I did spend a month in the Vikings locker room in their laundry basket, and these dudes they don't smell good, and I'm still taking them. So, yeah.
Can I ask what brought on this mission of espionage for a month?
I was trying to figure out exactly, like, you did the Spider-Man meme before. I was trying to figure out if Spider-Man knows how to call timeouts. And, like, Kevin O'Connell is his name, I think. Kevin O'Connell. He doesn't know how to call timeouts.
All right.
So
well, that's what you established in your month? Man, that was a commitment to the bit right there, a month.
There's not a whole lot of coaching going on in there. So that's pretty much what I took away from it. So.
I'm just going to take the Panthers. Probably this will be the Vikings kick to be good. And I'm a half point off. I said Vikings -3. I'm a half point off. Please, nobody rush out thinking that I'm, really, really hard selling Carolina here, because I'm not. But it's kind of that Giant thing when they went to the Cardinals. This is the team you're going to make a road favorite. This team. And in the Giants case, it was like 6.5 or something. And I also admit 3.5 is again, I'm being asked to be a sucker, right? Oh, well, they could at least stay within a field goal. Sure.
It's a trap.
But I'm going to be on Carolina and I'll love it. That's for sure. The Bengals finally get a win. And I said it on the podcast. I felt like you got to watch that one. That was Monday night.
I did. Yeah.
That's the Mac Jones starter kit offense. I would have thought, wait, say the quarterback's name again. I just love it. Say it.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. Also, in Philadelphia, we would add an S. So Joe Burrow.
But here's the thing: in your just normal voice, when you're not doing the Philly guy voice, you still say it funny. I love it. Anyway, the Bengals are visiting Tennessee. Tennessee has, I think we can now establish they have a really good defensive front. But apparently it's not enough to get to the quarterback to cover up for what seems to be maybe the worst secondary in the league. Their offensive line is a real problem. Their quarterback is a real problem. The line here, I think it's because people saw the very, very conservative Bengals on Monday night, and so the line is not exorbitant. It's only Bengals on the road favored by 2.
Ooh, yeah. So I just have a piece of self-care for Titans fans. Never look at the last 2 drafts, not this most recent one because we don't know yet, but the drafts that were led by Caleb Williams and stuff like that, or Caleb Farley rather. They took a risk on almost every one of these picks. All of them, they thought they were, or the theory was these are undervalued players. Well, it's like my team that started off with Nick Chubb and Cooper Kupp. It didn't work out. Okay, and so the main point being that the Cincinnati calf muscles. Also, they do chili and cheese on their spaghetti in Cincinnati. I'm going to forgive that, and I'm going to take the Bengals. I had the Bengals -5.5. I know that sounds crazy, but what you said about this team is so loud on screen. First of all, Andre Dillard has allowed 6 sacks. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And if Jeff Stoutland, not that he's the god of coaching, but in Philadelphia, if he couldn't work with a first-round talent over the course of 4 years, and they didn't even want to mid-level tag him or anything, they just get out of here. No tender. That's a red flag. And like you said, the safety Kevin Byard's amazing, but the rest of those guys are just running into each other. So yes, they can stop you from running, but they can't stop you from scoring. And I don't think the Bengals care what you want. They can pick their poison themselves. So yeah.
I will push back a little. I'm on the same side as you. I said it at 5.
Sure, okay.
The only pushback I'll say is that there is a question of whether they can pick their poison.
Okay, right.
It was the Mac Jones starter kit in that it was a bunch of 1-yard passes. It was Jamar Chase out of the slot, constantly running. And the Rams were pretty smart about it. The Rams were yeah, go ahead. If you can go on 15 play drives, go do it. And they would use 13 plays to go 48 yards in that game.
It's the 3rd lowest yards per attempt rate through 3 starts in the last 20 years. Yeah. So not great.
Yeah. And they clearly dialed it back even more for this week 3, and it must be related to Burrow's calf. They just don't want him moving. They don't want him running on the ball. There were a couple of times he had to when he moved a little, and you could see it wasn't great. So that's the hesitation that they can't.
He said he was fine. He said he felt good.
Players always tell the truth. That's the hesitation is that Cincinnati can't name their number, that they can't just go down the field the way they used to. But I'm still with you, and it's not close. I'm on Cincinnati too. We got the Buccaneers. It's the Jameis game. Probably. I mean, as of our recording this, we think Derek Carr will be out. Tampa Bay going and visiting New Orleans, Jameis's new home. The wacky, waving, inflatable, arm-flailing tube man of quarterbacks is Jameis Winston. He's got weapons. He's got a good team around him. We've seen this before. He had good team around him in Tampa Bay too. It was a Super Bowl winning roster, as it turns out. It just needed not him at quarterback. We've got the the Saints are -3 home against Tampa.
Now listen, I don't name drop very often because I don't know many names, but I can say that I don't know if it's active, but I have Jameis Winston's high school number in my phone. Okay, so
wow.
And the only reason I remember that because I tried to text myself this week, just remind myself. And whenever I do that, I'm like, "Ooh, someone's texting me." That's me. and it like the phone like tried to suggest Jameis Winston, and I was like, I don't think that's who I'm going to send this one to. I'm not going to send him my parlay screenshots. So yes, it's not a number I'd ever call.
I got to follow that tip. I got to like anytime I'm feeling low or unpopular, which. I mean, I got to admit, it's about 97% of my life. I just got to start texting myself.
I do it until I email myself, and I'm like, what? And then it's just like...
This is great. Wow, I have so many friends. All right, anyway, this game.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so I tend to side here with the Saints, and I don't know why. I had this at -3, so it's an avoid game in a way, but it's, again, we talked about that Browns defense. They're not on that caliber. They're not on that scale. But last week, yes, they had coughed up all those points, but that was also like Jameis making mistakes. I understand that they had more yards per touch or whatever per play with Jameis, but also the mistakes. The thing with Carr is that he's at least going to finish drives and not completely poop all over the place. But, I don't know. That's a little bit too graphic. But the point is this. Tampa's bad, and...
Are they?
Like, it showed up like... Well, no, they're not bad. No, Tampa's not bad. Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to be in trouble in this game, is my pick. Because I really do think that the edge rushers are back in New Orleans, and that secondary is really, really good.
Sure. So, I just would argue that... I would just argue that Tampa's defense is also really good, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's really good, but they don't really have a natural pass rush. They have to... Like, David and White is kind of just... David, I think Levante David like has a controller and just tells Devin White where to go because like otherwise he's just flying all over the place. But here's the thing: they have recovery speed at linebacker, but I do think they have issues with like natural pressure. And but maybe that doesn't matter because Jameis Winston is making decisions. I don't want to talk about this too much more because Jameis Winston's going to throw.
Right. I mean, I'd say the big point is that you set it at -3.
And it
is -3. You're trying to make a case when you don't really feel that strongly about it. And I am right there with you. I set it at -3, and I'm a coward, so I'm not going to pick it. But you hit the key points. If it's Carr, you feel a little better. Not great, but a little better. Mm-hmm. And don't feel that great with Winston. All right. Game of the century so far this month. It is the Dolphins coming off a 70 spot. I'm dumb about a lot of things, but I believe most people who listen to what I talk about think that I saw this Miami thing coming. And I like this team a lot, and they feel very futuristic. It comes down to Tua staying healthy. This is one of those games where he's going to get hyped up, and he could get a lot of pressure and not stay healthy. But they are visiting the Buffalo Bills, who have looked a lot better the last couple of weeks, and the Bills are a 3-point favorite at home. They do
look a lot better. And so I'm still, I guess, struggling with like the images of the first week. And so maybe I have to move on from that because that game, it smelled like when we talked about Lake Erie, just like was a rust game, right? So at the same time, I had this Bills -1. So I don't know if this Bills team is a contender, like a full contender when we're talking about the teams that they'd have to get through. The speed is real. I do think that that outside of outside of White, Tre'Davious, I really don't think that the safeties, they're older, they're really good, but like Jordan Poyer is so old that LeBron James hit on his girlfriend in the first time he was in Cleveland. Okay, so seriously, there's a whole story. Look it up or don't. And so yeah, that's it. I have this. I just think it's the fastest team in the world, and I'm gonna side with them, and I'll take points with them anytime. And I just had this at 1 because I feel like it's almost like a pick'em feel. So yeah.
It's my other coward game. I have them back to back. I hate it. I wanted to be on Miami. I thought by setting it Bills -3, I thought I was going to be like, oh, they're going to be 5, so I'm going to be on Miami. And the market, this is really big respect for Miami, I have to say. And who knows, by the time this gets posted or by the time Sunday gets here, it's possible the lines might move even lower. But I mean, clearly Miami's going to be a public team now, right? People saw 70. And they're going to be a public team. So I'm a push on this one too. Wimp, coward. I'm only allowed to do 2 though. So stay tuned to the rest of the show. The Broncos and the Bears. I think if I were naming the 5 worst teams in the league, I probably would have to name the Broncos, but I definitely would have to name the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the Broncos on the road, winless, are a 3.5-point favorite.
This game is being played in a defunct Pizza Hut, just so you know. Like, the city of Chicago is not going to allow this to be seen in public. But I don't know, man. This is terrible. I had this at -2.5 Denver, but I don't care. I don't care about that part. I don't care. I'm not doing this.
This is a very scientific system you have. You use the system until you don't like the result.
You know what I said? I just said, just no. All right? It's like, I'm Nancy. This is the Nancy Reagan pick. Just say no. I am just going with Denver and just pretend I didn't say any of those things. So it's just like Dave, just cut this out and do the Spider-Man thing. Like,
don't cut it. Don't cut it, Dave. Don't cut it. I said it at 2. I said I thought I was being like such a bold guy by saying, wow, who are they to be a road favorite? I'll make them a road favorite, and then we'll see. And then it turned out to be 3.5, and I'm like, I'm on the Bears. So I guess I'm on the Bears. I'll be on the other side because I'm not a coward. I am a coward, but I'm not a coward. Like, obviously, there's not tons to love about either one of these teams. There's certainly a case that says Denver finds a way to be competent on offense, and that's all they really need, and the Bears can't really do either thing. Maybe this is the day finally we get the running game working. Fields runs more. That makes Herbert and Roschon Johnson be able to run more. Sure seems like through 3 games you can run on Denver. What's that finger point for?
It's like a hand raise. I'm used to kids. I work with kids, and I just wanted to say one more thing about this game that just is.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Kevin James tries to change his career and get serious and like do the like late career comedian thing, I don't know if he's a comedian, but you know what I'm talking about. Is he gonna do like a darker Sean Payton movie, like the Denver era Sean Payton? You know what I mean? Because he did that terrible movie before, and I just think it's gonna be his chance. It's gonna be him. It's like his Nicolas Cage, like leaving Las Vegas turn. I just wanted to put that out there. So. Yeah.
So serious actor. You're not serious comedian. He's going to be a serious actor.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm talking about how there's a history of comedic actors who, like, at the end are like, listen, let me just show you what I can do. So yeah. Right.
I got it. It's the Adam Sandler doing a Paul Thomas Anderson movie move. That's what's coming for Kevin James. And thank you for being with us on Hollywood tonight. And
the writer's strike's over, so let's focus on the acting strike, okay?
I mean, dude, you can now write that screenplay. You can go legally write that screenplay. It's so exciting.
I wrote it on Sunday as I watched that game. It's called 70. It's called
70. Oh, I love it. It's very good. It's a good title. Yeah. All right, so we are up to your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, who I've doubted. Not week 1. I picked them week 1, but the last 2 weeks I did not pick them, and I was punished for it. I think at this point, you will probably concede that expecting them to have the same pass offense this year as last year's, we're probably beyond that, at least insofar as if defenses are going to play back like they're playing back. There may come some team, and maybe it's the Commanders this week, where they decide, okay, we're going to play it more straight up, and we're not going to be so scared in the back end, and we're not going to let DeAndre Swift beat us. But with so much safety back, with so many nickel corners, with so much attention paid to the receivers, that passing game, Jalen Hurts doesn't have it in him, I don't think, to beat that kind of defense. But they don't have to, because they have a really great offensive line and a really great running game. It's a big line, home against the Commanders. It's 8.5. What do you think?
Yeah, like you're saying, like it's we're seeing what it's like to have Jalen Hurts have to go to the second read, like a lot. And it's not great so far, but last year was there was a Shanahan-like quality to what Steichen was doing in terms of like the first read was good, and if it wasn't, do something else. Like, you know, and it usually and it's changing his RPO decisiveness too. Like he's taking weird lanes, he's rushing up the middle, and I don't think that's designed to say go get smashed. It's just what's happening. Either way, I had this at 9.5. Eagles. I just think the Sam Howell show. First of all, if his name was Sammy,
that's it.
His name was Sammy, but the Sam Howell thing, it's just he's running around. It's Baker Mayfield with big calf muscles. Okay, like he's just running around. It's bizarro, broken Kyler Murray. Okay, it's wild, and like he's fun, and all the cool stuff that happened earlier, the gunslinger stuff. He's paying for it now, I think. So yeah.
Well, when did that happen?
I don't
I haven't
know.
seen it yet.
Was it that first week or something? Did anything happen that I'm talking about? None of it, right? Am I just making this up? Yeah.
I thought he was pretty bad against the Cardinals. He was been even worse the last two.
He wiggled on that one.
Somehow
he wiggled.
I mean, he won the game again. He had a huge comeback against Denver. Like they're 2-1.
It's the Denver game, and it broke my head. That's what it was. Yeah. So now that's out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm really, really skeptical on the podcast because I think he looks a lot, frankly, like Taylor Heineke. I just don't see the difference. Just similar, maybe slightly bigger arm or whatever. Right. So I'm calling him Heineken Silver because he's just a slightly classier version of Taylor Heineke. I'm on the Eagles with you too. I'm kind of done doubting them for the moment. They're smart enough to know
who they are,
and it seems like the intelligence came around halfway through the Minnesota game.
Yes,
that Thursday night game where they went, you know what we might do if all the safeties are going to play back. And they just kind of figured it out in real time. And that's not me dumping on the Eagles. That's me saying good for figuring it out. There are teams, the Chargers and Vikings are never going to figure it out. The Eagles are
smart team. Like a jab. They can get their jab off every time. They can no longer land the haymakers that used to define these blowouts. They're going to feel closer these games, but that margin last week was actually big the way that it was played. And I think that's going to play out again here. It could be a weird spread line at the end. It's not going to be some huge blowout, but it's going to feel bigger than that because they're going to lean on them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, this is much less about the Eagle offense because the Commander defense, we know it's pretty good.
It is.
Like that game looks like it was a blowout against Buffalo last week. It was absolutely not a blowout. Right. It was like 16-0 through most of that game to the very, very end. So the problem is the other way around. I just don't trust Sam Howell. Brian Robinson's been really good, but I don't trust Sam Howell at all. Steelers, they're road favorites. There are some not great teams who are road favorites this week.
There are.
And I think we forget that often leads to disappointment. But maybe the home field advantage just isn't what it was. They're going to Houston. Houston flying high after that dynamic win in which they just kind of stood there and let Jacksonville punch themselves in the face. The Steelers are a 3-point favorite on the road in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of Steelers fans there because I think there's a traveling group of actors who the Rooney family pays. And so this week they're in Houston. Watch out for them. They don't tip. I had this at -3. Steelers. I am going to stick with that. I think this is a reflection of these lines tightening this week that there's only been one game where I've had more than a 1 point. Like one of these games I went 2 points. I had said 5. Either way, I'll find it. But there's not many margins here. Like they're all tight. I don't know, man. This pass rush is ridiculous. TJ Watt's ridiculous. I just think there's enough high level talent to actually, because for example, JJ Watt was on ESPN today or whatever, some show, but I saw him and he was talking about how with a rookie quarterback, you want to heat him up. You do. You want to get to him, make it weird. Stroud does stand there. I just think the level of heat is going to be different than he's felt before. Jacksonville's not on you the way these guys will be on you, and I think it's going to create chaos. And I'm not even saying Stroud falls apart, but I really do feel quite confident for me even having I feel more confident than my line suggested. I guess I had it at -3 because of basically Kenny Pickett. But
exactly.
if it was like Dalton, or a car, I'd have this at 5.5, 6. That's the truth.
I'm on the same side. I said 4, but I'm on the same side. It feels weird because I don't want to trust that offense at all. And Houston's defense is, I would say, not horrendous, but the two defenses that everybody was telling me to start, Arizona and Houston. Arizona's a lot better. We'll get to them in a second.
Yeah,
their defense is legitimately good and very aggressive, and Houston's a little more playback, a little more just try to keep it in front of you, not make mistakes, and make teams go on long drives, and that's going to work against Kenny Pickett. I mean, frankly, it is going to work. But for me, it's the problem is the other direction. I think fantasy people look at numbers, right? And they look at these Houston passing numbers and they go, oh, CJ Stroud is amazing. And you watch the games and you go, okay, I mean, it's great numbers, but it was a pass to Tank Dell where nobody covered him.
It was completely loose.
For 40 yards. And the other pass to Tank Dell where he threw in a triple coverage. And great job, but
and he leaked out. Yeah.
Yeah, good, you need to do that, but I just don't think that's sustainable. So I'm with you. I'm on the Steelers there. The Raiders, as of our recording this, my suspicion is we get Brian Hoyer at quarterback and not Jimmy Garoppolo. Although Garoppolo's diagnosis of a concussion is a little more suspect and media generated than a lot because he didn't actually leave the game. right?
That's right.
Yeah, like he was in,
it was like
in the whole thing.
post-game symptoms that were reported, right?
So, like, we'll see. We're not sure, but I'm going to assume for the moment Brian Hoyer, and they're coming here to Los Angeles with a lot of Raider fans. It's essentially a home game in the Chargers Stadium, but they are visiting the Chargers. The Chargers are 5-point favorites.
Now, that cast of actors has not been paid by the Davis family in a long time, and they are angry. All right, they are owed. They are owed. I had this at Chargers -6. I think had it 7. That and I could see that. I kind of sat it there because I just wasn't sure about the quarterback situation. I don't know why I felt that, because I don't know how much it's going to change things. Garoppolo's been pretty bad, Jimmy, for a while. He's not this, and I think he's one of these guys who does need the support system. He does need the net. He's not going to elevate anything. He needs those. He is the statue version of Jalen Hurts. Like, if it gets weird, it's going to get weird.
Well, that's it. Yeah. You just said it right. Like, everybody probably got to see some of that Sunday night game because it was a national TV game. You obviously watched all the way through. I did too. Does Jimmy Garoppolo 10 plays a game looks like the best quarterback in football? Yep. There's no question. You go, oh my God, how do they ever stop him? Right, and then he gets one look where he's like, I don't know where to go. His feet start pitter-pattering. Right. I think there's actually like a PhD thesis that somebody could do out there, statistical PhD thesis about the number of times Jimmy Garoppolo does the little dance, the little as he's waiting. Yeah. Like, add up the number, and it's exactly proportional to the absolute screw up that he's about to make. But you said it right. You said it briefly. I said it longly. But the problem is with Garoppolo, like, man, how are you this bad improvising this long in the league?
Yeah, well, he just has some really cool friends, and sometimes we just need some help. He is a Joe Cocker album, so yes.
He is a Joe Cocker. It's a great point. He is a Joe Cocker album. Brian Hoyer might not even that. Brian Hoyer's play-by-play ceiling is certainly lower. His play-by-play floor might be a little higher.
Right.
But still, I'm with you on the Chargers. I can't believe it. The Chargers are so dumb.
He's Bald Dalton. Bolton.
He's Bolton. Dalton. He is Bolton.
Yeah. Michael Bolton.
I never want to be on the Chargers because they just want to take your money.
They want to take your money and then burn it.
Right in front of you.
They don't even want to spend it.
While you're watching, they just want to burn it with a cigar right in front of you.
That's how Brandon Staley heats his home. And he lives in Los Angeles.
Yeah, with a cigar that he stole from the Rams. All right, so we're going to go to the Cardinals, the aforementioned Cardinals. Hey, man, a lot of bad calls come out of my mouth sometimes, but last week, the Cowboy game, you got to admit. That was pretty good. Pretty good.
This guy over here,
pretty good stuff. So the Cardinals are going to the 49ers. I think once again, I'm just going to say it. I think the line's too high for how good Arizona is. Like, they're not a playoff team, but they're not like, they're the 16th best team in the league, aren't they? Like, aren't they exactly the 16th best team in the league?
Yeah, and they're doing, like, this idea the offense was going to crater too. It's not good, but it's like, yes, it's bad, but it's like in the 20s, not like 32. It's not this like.
Is it even bad though? Because I'm sorry to interrupt. James Conner was not supposed to be able to do anything against the Cowboys, and he had acres of space.
Yeah.
Acres of space and looked fantastic. Right. So I just go, okay, I think the 49ers are probably better, and the Cowboys had just lost Trayvon Diggs. There's a lot of things you can say, but like, I think the market
around. It was a physical game.
Exactly. Well said.
I mean, that was a real like battle. That wasn't just a series of mistakes.
Right.
Like you talked about how Sam Howell sometimes was in games. This is not that.
No.
This is systemic like play. They're really actually doing things. I had this at 12, and I thought that was going to be right around where it was. Like, I actually thought this is bigger 14. Than I thought.
Yeah.
And it's also just that, like, styles make fights. And what I mean by that is I think they can muck this up. And I think the Niners are going to want to be like, yeah, we can pop you too. And that's exactly what the Cardinals want. Like, they want to bring you into their fight. They want to fight. And that's how they play. Gannon, I'm going to forgive him for all of the pain he's caused me. And now I'm just blaming groundskeepers. I've moved on. And so, yes, I am taking the Arizona Cardinals with this heaping of points. And I think if you tease this at all, like if you ever play any, like, not that teases are always great, but if you have two games you like, I actually like teasing this to, like, 20 or 19 and a half or whatever, 18 and a half, a football number, better than that. But get this up a little bit, and I think you're going to be in a good position. So, yeah.
I thought the line would be 10. I thought there'd be a little more respect on the Cardinals name
from what we just saw.
Yeah,
right.
like why can't they
it's
be
still
competitive?
A good Dallas roster, right?
Sure, it is. Of course, it is. And on defense, all they were missing was a corner. And I mean,
an outside corner.
He's a great corner.
Like not a guy that you pick on.
Right, and I also think you don't think he's as good as everybody else thinks, Trayvon Diggs.
Well, I actually think last year in this, I think that Quinn has positioned him really well, but I still think he's like a boundary like contested catch corner and not this 11 pick guy. Yeah.
Right. I don't think he's the reason why they lost. Let's put it that way. And there wasn't anything else missing. Micah Parsons was invisible in that game. Yeah. So all right. So we're on the same side there. All right. We got to go to the stupid footy pajama Patriots who. Could a team possibly win a game and make you feel worse about them? I'm sitting here in a flowery shirt here to tell you, no, not possible.
Yeah.
Stupid Patriots. They're a Hail Mary away. Randall Cobb has got the ball on his fingertips on the goal line to win that freaking game. And no problem. The Patriots win. They go to Dallas. The Cowboys coming off a bad loss. They're 7-point favorites.
This is my only Boston accent I'm ever going to use. I talked to, I don't know, forget his name, the big guy who's on ESPN, the real big guy who was on the Patriots, and he went to the Jets, and he did his favorite, Lawyer Malloy was one of my favorite players ever. I love that guy, and he goes, Lawyer! So I supposed to say that.
Lawyer.
That's what they said, all the fans would scream, Lawyer! All right, so I am taking the points here. I actually had this at -6, and hey, let's take it, okay?
I have it 7, so like I'm gonna be on the Cowboys, but we both think
it's not big at all. I'm not even like saying there's this huge carryover from last week. What I am saying is, I watched a Belichick defense. I watched the Eagles game twice, the Patriots one, and he does put guys in bad positions. I know that Jalen Hurts but he put Jalen Hurts in the positions. He's the one who set the template everyone's watching right now, like to stay back. Like looked at that, that looks great, do that. I'm just saying I think that he's going to have a system that's going to make, for example, is going to force the ball into like Cooks' hands and guys who maybe aren't going to be able to do as much. If you take taking Lamb out isn't easy. I just think that they have the personnel in the scheme to make this another mucky type game, and I like the under in this as well. So, yes.
So, I mean, you're half point off. So you're not trying to say this is some crazy value. I'm a half point off in the other direction. Right. So I'm going to say the Cowboys.
I'm not really playing this game. Yeah, like I'm picking it, but not really playing it.
Exactly. We're picking all the games, but they're not all necessarily amazing plays. Like my feeling is you're right that what the Patriots want to do, especially if they're scared of an offense, is just like bob and weave and try to stay within 10 points. Like, let's not get embarrassed out there, guys.
Rope-a-dope. Yep.
I mean, but sometimes I don't even think it's rope-a-dope. I think it's like we don't have a chance to win.
Coming.
But
rope-a-dope suggests something coming, right?
Yeah. Like this is going to be a bunch of Mac Jones 1-yard passes and runs into the line and punts. The Patriots playing the Bills the past couple of years. Right, like when it's not a freaking windstorm, all they do is like, oh God, I hope that guy doesn't beat us too bad. Let's just see if we can try to keep the ball and not score.
It's Joe Burrow with a flip phone. That's
what's that name again? What was that name?
Yeah, Joe Burrow with the flip.
Yeah, but don't say it in the accent. Just
Joe
say
Joe Burrow,
right? Yeah, baby. We had to go almost an hour, but we got there. Got there.
Thank you.
Barrow and Baumer. So whatever. Like the Cowboy offense has issues. They maybe are mostly Dak Prescott related. I'm not, I've never been the biggest fan. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm saying he's maybe a little closer to average than people wanted to believe. And
what was that pick? What was that red zone pick? That was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, they're still they're down 2 scores. So that's not even to win the game, but it's to stay in the game. And just like, I think he loses his mind a little bit. I think I love him as a guy. Like there's nothing from what I know, there's nothing not to like about him. But like, Patriots could get him right now. I would take it. Believe me.
He does have a Daffy Duck tattoo on his thigh, but whatever. Okay.
He has a lot of things now. He has a lot of obscure references in that tattoo that he needed like 9 hours of anesthesia to get that leg tattoo, don't you?
That he was actually he was put under, and my favorite part is that he has a Dallas skyline on there. It was like, did you consult Jerry Jones on this one? Because I don't know how long that's going to be relevant for you, but all right.
Well, fortunately, it's got like replaceable buildings on it, so they can just change it. Yeah,
turn it into like, but not if he gets traded to Nashville. Their skyline's very small. He's going to have to erase, and like it's going to get weird.
How are we being forced? How are they not flexing out this Sunday night game? What are we doing?
I mean, sometimes it's like a CSI show. This one, you know what I mean? It's like
just having watched the sideshow myself live because I'm a Patriot fan. You're not going to like what you see. It's not going to be fun to watch. It's not even fun bad. The
Yeah,
Jets
exactly.
offense. This is
Bad, yes.
just really,
Yes.
really like it's 4th and 10 and he throws it 1 yard. That's
It's
the
like a
best.
bad play. It's like a bad
Wow.
play, and you're like, holy God,
Yeah.
there's 2 intermissions. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what this is like. And
it's
I
the
had
Chiefs.
this minus 10. I had this minus 12 this one.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I had this at the same line as I had with San Francisco. So yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, Chiefs are on the road a little more.
But the gap's huge. But yeah, I mean, are they? I mean, they are, but like
they are. There'll be a loud fan. I mean, say what you want about Jet fans. They're delusional mostly, but they show up.
It's gonna be like self-loathing though. It's not gonna be some joy thing. And
right. They boo. They'll boo fast. Yeah. Chiefs 9.5. I didn't even say it, but yeah, I'm gonna also be on the Chiefs for all the reasons that we said. All right, Monday night, same stadium, better game. I don't think either of these teams are good, but they're not. Well, actually, I think the Giants might be in the 5 worst teams in the league. I don't think Seattle is. Seahawks are coming to New York. They're going to go to the top of the Empire State Building and point at Pete Carroll's house back when he worked for the Jets. And the Giants are a 1-point favorite over Seattle.
Pete Carroll never sold that home. It's just full of wintergreen gum. And he just, so it's just
That's McGum House. It's McGum House, everybody. Look down there.
House.
It's McGum House. Yeah.
Yep. It's actually a series of gumballs too, like as if Pee Wee Herman built the house. But I had this. We're gonna talk about this game again because I had Seattle minus 2.5.
I had Seattle minus 2.
I just think they're better. Like I get it. We've seen some variance or volatility, whatever you want to call it, between these teams. But like, there's good Geno, bad Geno. I don't know if there's a good Daniel Jones right now, and also, like, maybe continually having the smallest receiving core in the history of time is going to show up. And, like, what I'm saying is, I don't know who wins in the team. And Darren Waller, apparently, little cookie caked, it looks like. You know, it just looks like it. Thank God. I mean, he married Kelsey Plum. So, like, good luck. That's awesome. She's an incredible basketball player. Now he can go watch her games next year, you know? So that's cool. I really just think this is a weird line. And so is it weird? Like, remember week 1, the Rams were 4.5-point dogs in Seattle? That felt weird for the other reason. This feels weird. Like, why are we respecting the Giants this much? So that's my thing.
Sure. I mean, as it turned out, the Rams won that game outright, so maybe that's not the best example. Yeah.
No. What I meant was like that felt funky. Actually, as I was picking it, I picked the Seahawks in that game, and it felt weird because like, what does Vegas know? In this, I'm questioning if this is a public New York thing. I have no idea.
Okay. I'm glad you explained that. Yeah, that does make sense. So that isn't usually the way it works. We've been doing this long enough to know that usually the lines are just pretty rock on.
You can't sniff these out. Yeah.
But like, I can say that 2 out of the 4 weeks I've looked at Giant lines and I've gone, wait, what? Going to the Cardinals did make sense.
You were adamant about that one. You were like, that's happening.
Yeah. Like I didn't understand how are you making that team after they got shut out by the Cowboys in week 1 a 6.5-point favorite, and they're still being respected here in a way that I don't understand. I'm glad you explained it because I feel kind of like crazy pills a little bit seeing the Giants favored in any game almost. I think they're bad. I think they're pretty damn bad. So I don't think Seattle's great, but I'm also going to be on Seattle. That does bring us to your number 1 pick of the week, and I think we're going right back to that one.
I think we are. I am going with the Seattle Seahawks. I was considering the Chiefs like for a while this week because like just elevating them, but it's a big line. There's a lot of ways for that. It's a big line. There's a lot of ways for that not to work. And like, not even that, like, I think, but like Wilson could get pulled for like, I don't know, really early. And not that that's going to change the world, but maybe some level of like identity could show up for the Jets. I just don't know if there's an identity for this Giants team other than like last year was fun. I mean, Brian Daboll, I respect him. He won Coach of the Year with 1 division win last year. That is so hard to do. And that might be the case this year, but I don't think he's getting Coach of the Year this year. So If DraftKings offers you a buyout for that, take it. Okay, you bet that.
Well, they should be 0-3. They are 1-2, but that Arizona game was dead, right? And Arizona let up off the foot off the gas, and so I'm not going to pick them as my best bet, but I'm on the same side as you. I am on the same side as you on my actual best bet. I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals over the Titans.
There's sell mode soon, don't you think? I'm sorry, but don't you think that team's like near a fracture line almost, like a fault line?
Who you selling? Derrick Henry? Like, I don't know. Do people want
Kevin Byard? I mean, there's some guys. He's an all-pro safety.
Like, Ryan Tannehill, I guess, to the Jets, right?
The Jets.
That would make some sense. Yeah. Right. I respect. We always talk about the Titans as like I respect the operation. We don't think Vrabel's dumb. we don't think they make huge mistakes. Their personnel, I think their personnel is not great. And in the end, probably he does have say it personnel, so maybe it's too much praise. But so like it's fair to say home dog. You don't always love picking against the Titans, but this Titans team, I'm not so sure. We said what could go wrong with this pick. What could go wrong is that the Bengals just stay real conservative, and it just stays close the whole one-score game the whole way, and you fight your nails through the whole thing. Right. Yeah, I don't. I mean, you had this at 5, I think you said, right?
That's what I was going to say. This is like one of my bigger gaps. I mentioned this is like one of the margins. So that's how kind of I elevate through. These are the 3. This was in the batch for my 3 choices because I purely went by margin at that point. So
I'll be on the Bengals. Well, what do you, the viewer, think? Or the listener, if you're just listening, tell us down in the comments what would be your favorite line as we have enumerated them. We'll pick someone out who gets it right and shout you out at the beginning of next week's show. The shout goes to Robert Sabo this time around. Well done, Robert. I know Robert from Blue Sky. I know Robert from social media, and I'm very, very happy to know him. And that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank DraftKings again. If you have a chance to sign up with the app and use the code HarrisTube, that we get a little credit in the DraftKings side. It makes them that much more likely to let us keep doing this bonus podcast again next year. Dave Piper, this one was hard to produce. We had some snafus. We had some technical issues, and Piper is a trooper, and we really appreciate Dave so much. And McCormick, you did a good job. Even if you weren't caffeinated, I just think you were so laser focused.
Thank you. The only thing I want to say, I didn't get this one joke in, is that imagine Ryan Tannehill getting the Aaron Rodgers tattoo and then like trying ayahuasca. I just want to throw that out there. So,
if he goes to the Jets, he may have to. May have to get a ayahuasca tutorial, a little like a vision quest from Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That's going to do it. Thank you for watching. We're going to be here again all season long. We would love it if you would subscribe to the channel if you like our goofing around about the NFL. We want to remind you, again, use DraftKings, but use it responsibly. Like, don't go crazy, please. Small amounts. Small amounts is bad. Enough to make it fun. That's all we're looking for. Enough to make it fun. It's not how you're going to earn your living. Please don't think of it that way. It's a fun little diversion. And we thank DraftKings very much. For Dave and for Jim, I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. Please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.